I swear, I just wish she'd disappear. Annoying as hell. Always making things tense every day.
Oh, totally. Let's just get rid of her. I've got an idea. Leave it to me.
I froze. My husband's voice and my mother-in-law's high-pitched laugh came filtering in from the living room. My heart went cold. My knees started to shake. I couldn't move. Just moments earlier, I had been looking forward to being back after 2 weeks away. I'd even brought Jake's favorite bourbon from my trip. I thought maybe tonight we could sit together as a family and enjoy a quiet drink. I had even smiled to myself at that thought, sitting on the train home. But the moment I stepped through the door, I heard them plotting to get me out. The past 10 years I'd poured into this family suddenly felt worthless. I thought about all the mornings I'd woken up early to make everyone breakfast. The late nights I spent cooking warm dinners, and the weekends spent planning meals they loved. But my mother-in-law, Madison, would throw away my cooking.
Food made by someone with no class isn't fit for us.
She'd say it every time. But I'd quietly make it all again. Just a month ago, on my birthday, Jake hadn't come home because of work. But I later found out he'd been out at a fancy restaurant with his mom. My heart burned with the anger and sadness I've been swallowing all these years. For 10 years, I'd put away my own feelings. And right now, at this very moment, I realized it was all for nothing. I could still hear them chatting in the living room, talking about plans to get me out of the house like it was a fun project. The fire of anger was building in me. Suddenly, I was holding the handle of my suitcase tightly. My name is Sarah Green. I'm 35 years old. I work as an architect. I've been around the world, from Paris to New York to Dubai, designing innovative spaces and buildings that bring people joy. But all of this was a secret to Madison. She believed a woman's place was in the home, and my work was only something I did to help out. She had no idea of the life I had built for myself. Architecture has the power to warm hearts and bring beauty into people's lives. My father told me that. Even now I carry his words with me. I lost both my parents in an accident when I was 15. Ever since, I worked tirelessly to keep my father's dream alive. In college, I graduated at the top of my class. I landed a spot in a global architecture firm. My 20s were all about work. Dating wasn't even on my mind. People would call me a workaholic, and I didn't mind that at all. Then 3 years ago, everything changed. I met Jake. A mutual friend introduced us.
Architecture, huh? That's amazing.
He had kind eyes, and he really wanted to understand what I did. I felt seen for the first time. I felt I could finally be with someone who truly understood me. So I married him, and felt like I'd found the family warmth I'd lost so long ago. We moved into a nice apartment together. We spent weekends picking out furniture, choosing curtains, setting up a plant by the window. A simple but real happiness filled our new home. But that happiness didn't last long. Less than a month into our marriage, Jake's mother, Madison, moved in without asking.
Jake, I just can't bear to be alone anymore.
She said it through tears. Jake, visibly uncomfortable, reluctantly nodded.
I'm sorry, Sarah. My mom's been so down lately.
I could already see his deep attachment to her. Jake's dad had passed away before we married, and I understood his mother's loneliness. So I thought, this is a chance to build a warm relationship with her. I worked hard to make her feel welcome. I got up early to make breakfast. I took care of the house after work, even though I was exhausted. On weekends, I'd plan things we could all do together, like going out or trying new recipes.
Sarah, you don't have to do so much. If you overwork yourself, we'll all be worried.
His words actually made me want to work even harder. But Madison's attitude began to change, bit by bit.
This soup is awfully bland. Jake, how are you supposed to get your nutrients like this?
I'm so sorry. I'll do better next time. I kept my voice steady, holding back tears.
And look at the way this laundry's folded. You're so busy with work, but this is just sad.
My hands clenched involuntarily.
You know, men start looking around when their wives are too busy with work. Especially with someone like Jake. Such a good-hearted man.
Her blatant comments stung, but I endured it. This was my family now. Occasionally, Jake would try to stand up for me.
Mom, maybe don't say it like that.
But his voice would trail off when she gave him a stern look. Every time that happened, a small part of my love for him faded. But I kept hoping that one day Madison would understand me. One night, I finally shared my dream with Jake. Jake, I want to start my own architecture firm someday. I want to build things that make people happy. And if I could have my own firm, I'd have more time for us.
That's incredible, Sarah. You'll make it happen, I know it.
His gentle smile warmed my heart. For a moment, it felt like I had a true partner. Recently, I secured a major project, one that could put me on the map as a serious architect. When I told Jake, he seemed happy for me at first.
Wow, that's amazing, Sarah.
But his smile didn't reach his eyes. He looked down, like he was hiding something.
Just make sure you don't neglect things here at home, okay? Mom's been worried.
His mother's hand landed firmly on his shoulder, giving me a disapproving stare. I could see all of Jake's insecurities and Madison's jealousy clear as day. But I couldn't give up. I still wanted to believe that one day we'd truly be a family. Until that night. One night, as I was finishing up the dishes, Madison's voice, sharp and mocking, cut through the quiet.
Sarah, come here right now.
Her voice was so harsh, it made my shoulders tense up. I sighed, bracing myself, and left the sink to join them. The smell of alcohol filled the room. Jake was sitting uncomfortably on the couch, looking uneasy. Madison's face was flushed, a satisfied smirk on her face.
So, Sarah, are you really going on business trips? Or is it something else?
Her accusation shocked me, leaving me momentarily speechless. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to stay calm. I knew from experience that arguing back would only make things worse. Then she produced a piece of paper, a divorce paper. Jake's signature was already on it. My heart pounded as I stared at his familiar handwriting.
We're keeping it ready to go, in case you step out of line. I know some legal experts, you know.
Her mocking smile felt like ice in my veins. My hands started to shake. Memories flashed in my mind, our wedding day, the new home we'd bought together, and every small moment we'd shared. Jake, what's going on here? Is our marriage that meaningless to you? Jake wouldn't meet my eyes.
Well, Mom's just worried. And you're gone so often now.
See? Even Jake is concerned. Running off on all those business trips and leaving the house in shambles.
I looked at Jake, and suddenly everything was clear. His need for his mother's approval outweighed any commitment to me. I was furious, but too proud to let her see my pain. For years, I've kept this house running and taken care of both of you. And now, after everything I've done, this is what I get? Madison scoffed, rolling her eyes.
Busy, always so busy. Jake, you even told me yourself you're fed up with her being gone all the time.
I mean, yeah, I did say that, but...
He looked like a scolded child, afraid of contradicting her. A part of me broke at that moment. The man I trusted with my heart was siding with someone determined to tear me down. Still, I didn't sign. I couldn't just walk away from my marriage without fighting for it. So I left for a 2-week work trip to Dubai, hoping the distance would clear my head. Then, during my trip, an email arrived that stopped me in my tracks. It was from one of the world's most prestigious architecture awards.
Miss Green, congratulations! Your project has been shortlisted for this year's International Architecture Award. You are the first American woman to reach this level.
My heart raced with pride and excitement. Dad's words echoed in my mind. Architecture has the power to heal, to bring people together. As my taxi drove through the city, I imagined how proud Jake would be. Maybe, finally, he'd see what my career meant to me. But when I arrived home that night, I heard laughter coming from the living room. I opened the door just in time to hear Jake's voice harsh and bitter.
Ugh, God, I wish she'd just disappear. I can't stand living on edge every single day.
Madison's voice responded, syrupy, sweet, but full of venom.
Then why don't we make her go? Don't worry, honey. I've got a plan.
My heart sank as I realized what was happening. I'd hoped to share my triumph with Jake. Instead, I found myself watching my own family plot against me. My hands shook as I held my suitcase. I felt frozen in place, unable to breathe. For 10 years, I'd done everything to build a life for this family. Early mornings, late nights, weekends cooking and cleaning to keep them happy. And here they were, casually planning to cast me out. I stood frozen, clutching the award notification in my hand. Their laughter echoed, filling me with a cold realization. I knew what I had to do. This time, I wasn't just leaving. I was going to end this chapter on my own terms. I packed up my essentials that night, quietly gathering the pieces of my life without alerting Jake or Madison. I left behind anything tied to the past, the gifts, the memories, even the wedding ring. As I closed the door, I whispered a quiet farewell. 2 days later, I requested a meeting with Jake and Madison at a luxury hotel downtown. The 30th floor conference room overlooked the city, a perfect setting for what was about to unfold. Dressed in a sharp suit, I arrived early, laying out documents neatly on the table, my award notice, project contracts, and the signed divorce papers. When Jake and Madison entered, they looked startled. Jake seemed disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, while Madison's smug expression had faded to unease. Please, sit.
What's all this, Sarah? Some kind of last-ditch effort?
Her tone was dismissive, but I stayed calm. I wanted you both here for closure, and to clarify a few things. I placed the award notice in front of them. I recently learned I'm a finalist for an International Architecture Award. It's something my father and I dreamed about for years.
Really? You never mentioned it.
I wanted to share it with my family, but you both made it very clear where I stand. I played the recording of their cruel words, filling the room with their voices. Jake looked horrified, while Madison's face turned pale.
That was taken out of context.
I shook my head. There's no misunderstanding. I know exactly how you both feel about me. I slid the signed divorce papers across the table. I've filled these. It's over. Jake reached out, desperation in his eyes.
Sarah, wait.
Madison snapped, her control unraveling.
Good riddance. You think you're better than us because of some fancy job and an award?
No, Madison, I don't think I'm better. But I do know my worth, and it's not here. I gathered my things, leaving them both in stunned silence. The world outside was waiting, full of promise. And for the first time, I was free to pursue my own happiness on my own terms. A month later, I settled into my new life in a high-rise apartment, overlooking the city. The building was a reflection of my passion, with elegant architecture and stunning views, embodying everything I loved about design. Each morning, I would look out over the city, reminding myself that this new life was of my own making. I reconnected with friends, took on exciting projects, and built a new office downtown to house my growing team. My work was thriving, and I felt the thrill of new challenges and accomplishments every day. At the International Awards ceremony, my name was called as the winner. The applause echoed around me as I held up the award, honoring the dream my father and I had once shared. The moment was surreal, a mix of pride and nostalgia as I stood on that stage. I knew then that I was exactly where I was meant to be. Every painful experience had shaped me, and now I was stronger, independent, and unshakably confident. My heart was full, and my mind was clear. With each step forward, I felt the weight of the past lift, leaving me free to shape the future on my own terms. The world was my canvas, and I was ready to design a life truly worth living.